Hey guys, Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here today in the shop with our 2014 F150 5.0. And we're going to be throwing on the K&N 57 series cold air intake, but before we jump into that install, make sure you head down below, hit subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram to keep up with everything we got going on. So as you can see, under the hood of our 5.0 is pretty much all stock, and we have the full factory intake, airbox, and snorkel. And basically all of this is going to come out and be replaced with the new K&N parts, which will allow us a little bit better airflow and better throttle response, as well as kind of a nice intake sound when we get on the throttle. That being said, another big advantage is going to be the ability to run that K&N oiled filter in there so we can clean it and reuse it instead of just having to swap through old paper filters as these get dirty and we use the truck. So with all the details out of the way, we're going to pop this intake out and get to work with the new K&N. With the hood open, we can unplug the mass air harness from the sensor, then on the back side of the intake tube, remove the vacuum line. Where the intake tube meets the intake box, loosen the band clamp and pull the tube off of the box. Remove the 3 clips on the inside of the box to be able to remove the intake lid and filter from the truck. Loosen the band clamp at the throttle body, then remove the PCV hose from the bottom of the intake tube to be able to remove the entire tube from the engine bay. To set up the new intake box, set the filter adapter into the lid and bolt it down using the new hardware provided. The adapter will insert through the inside and bolt on the outside. It also has 2 strips of rubber seal to install to the outside edges of the bottom of the lid. Then the filter can be attached and bolted down to the adapter using the band clamp on the filter. At the stock intake box in the truck, remove the middle clip since we will not reuse it with the K&N intake. The new intake filter and lid will set in the tabs on the fender side. Then the remaining 2 clips on the engine side will secure it to the stock lower box. Slide the coupler onto the throttle body and attach the band clamps. For now, we can tighten the band clamp holding the coupler to the throttle body. Do the same with the coupler on the filter adapter. To set up the K&N intake tube, thread in the bigger of the 2 vacuum connections farthest from the mass air port. It'll be tightened hand tight, then about 2 full turns with a wrench. Repeat this process with the smaller connection as well. For the mass air sensor plate, attach the foam seal to the side of the plate with the 2 nubs on the opposite corners. This is the side that will mate with the tube. Tighten it to the intake tube so that the nubs touch the tube. Remove the mass air sensor itself from the stock intake lid. It can only install one way into the new port. The holes at each corner will only line up one way, then tighten it to the new intake. Place the K&N intake tube into the engine bay and slide it into the throttle body coupler first, and then tighten it down. Then tighten it to the filter coupler. The mass air connection can be plugged into the mass air sensor, then reconnect the PCV line to the bigger of the 2 ports on the intake. For the smaller port, we must replace the short factory hose with a longer hose that K&N supplies. Lastly, take the new intake box rubber seal and push it onto the edge of the intake box to keep the filter sealed with the hood when the hood is closed. With that completed, the intake installation is finished.